Well, it's been a while. My word. It's been a while since I've streamed, so I thought, just because it's the middle of summer right now, why not? And we're gonna be doing some Truckers MP, nothing else. So thankfully, I've moved into a new apartment. I've actually moved into, what is it? Yeah, I've moved into 2 different apartments since the last time that I streamed Truckers MP. So this is going to be exciting. For me, exciting for me to have my own setup here. Okay, I'm just taking a look here. It's gonna be doing this, isn't it? I have to check. I have to make sure my stream's all set up. Lovely. It's gonna be doing this, isn't it? Perfect. Okay, there we go. It's all set. I could we could get a start on this. Ooh. Gotta make sure I don't slice myself by my own desk. Here we go. Okay, very nice. Yeah, I could hire another driver. Perfect. But now I might as well travel to Cali, or I start off in Dover. Start off furthest away from where I would otherwise be. Let's see, how's this gonna come through? Nice. Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do before I do anything is see if I can change the toggled interface thing, infotainment display window. That seems about display mode. There you go. Oh, okay. So that's how it is. Okay. So my current range is 2,700 kilometers, and what I'm gonna be doing differently. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna bring that to Cologne. Okay, perfect. And then this has to be I'm just gonna drop it here and I'm gonna shift it over to Dover. Hopefully that works. Perfect. I'm thinking right now, do I want do low loader, low bed? We're just gonna see effectively what we have that could take me to Duisburg, Düsseldorf, or Cologne, or Dortmund. Right now, that seems to be out of the question. Hanover. Yeah. That could work. But I want to see if I could get a better deal, so I'm going to change. Yeah, I'm going to change my trailer. Oh, perfect. Now, I'm trying to think, or I'm actually mentally debating here. Do I utilize? Yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm gonna switch that around, and then instead of using the Scania, I'm gonna be using not the new DAF. No chance. Yeah, I mean that's a good option, but no. Oh wow. Oh, do I have? Oh. Wait. Yep, okay. So this is a proper interior. Right, lovely. Yeah, we utilize that. Just want to see, is there any add-on I want to consider that I haven't seen? Ooh, yeah, good. Good, okay. There we go. Flippineck. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I might actually have to go to the shop to figure out. Yeah, in order for me to figure out if I could actually get the front view camera. Yeah, I could get the front view camera for my display so that, yeah, I'm using cameras instead of actual mirrors here. Let's see. Is that doable? Okay. Okay, so yeah, but we don't have a camera and display. And I want to upgrade the seat. I don't want it, yeah, I don't want it rusting. Um, yeah, really... I'm surprised that I'm not getting anything from it. Okay, well, we'll utilize that. Okay, nice. So now... Yeah, see, this should change things up in terms of the jobs that are on offer. No, it's done me nothing better. Okay, so back to the garage. Where I will just look at other trailers that I could use. Might actually see if I could utilize a different setup. Ooh, limited options. Very limited. Yeah. Looks like we're using flatbeds. All I have to do is improve the wheels on it, the siding too. There we go. High grade, high class. Lovely. Add the LED strobe. Yes. Perfect. Every intricate detail. Yeah, this is gonna take a while. Okay. Well, to be fair, I am actually, yeah, I've already loaded in the game. So, I really, really do not want. I really do not want to turn away from construction related or machinery related jobs. Thing is, I genuinely do not know what I could do as an alternative. Okay, so technically what I can do is I could do either of these. Shit. This ain't easy, you know. Yeah, we'll do the yacht. I'm curious how close I am to just getting kicked out from, yeah. silo. Ooh. Yeah, you know what? It is gonna be a flatbed. Yep, so gonna use these tires. Yeah, I don't really want to try customizing stuff right now. I'm just keen on getting on the road as soon as possible, so we'll see how this goes. Begins. Nope. Side. Long vehicle. That is a very honest approach to it. Yep, we'll do that. A giant pineapple. I still can't believe the fruit. The fruit that's being offered. Berlin. I'll pass on that. Stuttgart. No. Come on, guys. The options are absolutely shit. That's the option that I have. I'll do the job to lead. I think that's probably my best choice, to be fair. I need to shift this over. There you go. You know what? Yeah, I gotta watch what songs come on or I will get copyright strikes. So I might as well just put on a podcast at this point. Wrong. Whoa, the brakes on these. I forget the flatbeds are insanely overpowered. Here we go. First job of the night.
Flip them and things like that. But what I will
What does that
also
mean? Flip them?
Flip them as in sell them on for profit at a later date. But what I will also say to you that is, in my opinion, even worse. that if you have a development, say in Islington, typically if you have a big development, for every 12 private built flats or apartments, there should be a proportion that goes to social housing. This was a few years ago, right? So for every 12 there'd be 2 flats that go to social housing, or 3 or whatever it is in each borough.
That's not happening though, is it?
It isn't happening. I'll tell you why
not?
It isn't happening. And because what they're doing is, instead of giving it to social housing, what the government used to say is, well, if you provide student accommodation. Now, student accommodation is not typically for your local universities. What it is that it goes to international students. So for a 1-bed flat, or a studio flat that could go to a homeless person, or a hostel, they are renting those flats out at about £450 a week for a bedroom.
That's right.
In effect.
Yeah.
And that is then going
What a
down
parking
as
job.
passing the regulation, because it's being that in effect it is providing social housing, i.e., although going to students. So those properties, instead of going to homeless people or whomever, or people in need of any kind, is going to international students at a high.
So while what Prince William is hoping to promise is laudable, and anyone would encourage people to get behind it, there's got to be a political will to change the landscape. Otherwise, this just can't work.
It won't work, simply because there's too much money involved.
There you go.
And that's where the issue is. If you imagine that if you've got one flat, and that flat is being sold 3, 4, 5 times, and the flat physically has not even finished being built yet. And that is across every single flat in a new build, if you anywhere across London. And that's what happens typically on a day-to-day basis. If you were to go to a new homes estate agent and in a prominent area, I can guarantee you they are selling the same flats monthly.
Okay.
And this is for a few years they're doing it.
Thank you. Great call, that Carl. You'll call again, won't you?
Yes,
Good man. Thank you very much. That just confirms everything I've always thought. You know, this is market forces at work, and if you allow market forces to be unregulated, this is what happens. You sell flats to people who don't live in them, because they're just like having a gold bar. They just gain in property value, or then you sell it on. You don't have to do anything, really. You don't even really need a manager to look after it. But what about, these places? Are they cleaned? Are they not? It's incredible. So yeah, I thought that was happening, and that's why I don't think that Prince William's plan is actually feasible. It's a great idea. He can make a slight dent in the problem, can't he, by putting social housing up in his land, but that's not going to solve the problem. That is the sticking plaster, isn't it? 0345 6060 973. We have actually 2 slots only available, so bear with us. We will get to you, I promise. We'll do as many calls as we can. I'm going to continue with this subject up until at least 6 o'clock, because so many people want to talk about it, and it is very, very important. But as I say, that last call just spelt out for me why this is a laudable but in the end fruitless dream of Prince William. Mike's in Hampstead Heath in North London. Lovely place. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. On you go.
Cool. Yes, so I am currently a homeless person, one of the homeless, as you like to get others. I mean, as a general rule, I would say it's a problem that under our society cannot be fixed, because we are politically the threat why people do 2 jobs and still have to go to food banks. If there weren't people in the doorways on the way home, I don't. And I honestly think, like the people who...
But it's not the doorway people. They're the most obvious people. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
No, absolutely.
The majority of people who are technically homeless have got a roof over their heads every night, but it's not theirs.
But absolutely, and it's what I'm saying though is I think it's a total ticking time bomb, because when you're homeless in this city, especially, it's you can't afford your rent. Like, you cannot afford the cost of housing. In terms of your hierarchy of needs, the housing one is one that you cannot afford in your current life structure, however you work or whatever. And the one thing homeless people have in common is that they either can't be on their own in a room, and sooner or later those people on the sofas and things like that, their mental health, which is the reason they're on the sofa, probably becomes too much for that person whose sofa it is.
Yes.
And the support in terms of helping someone almost find the reason to get up in the morning, and then allow them to have the safety. Like, you cannot, and the trouble is you can't plan anything, you can't do anything when you're not quite sure where you're sleeping tonight. And even to the extent when you're in somebody else's home, you never have that chance to relax, which means you
So
never
if we, you listened to that last caller, I'm assuming, while you were waiting, and if we allow market forces to underpin the basis for any sale of any house or any rent, any property, homelessness will always be part of that, because our system isn't really fit for purpose if we want to end
100%.
homelessness, is it?
I mean, the issue, I mean, it could be fixed, but it has to be done politically. Like, there could be a law in London that if you have a residential property and there isn't someone living in it, tax the living bejesus out of it.
Correct.
That wouldn't be that hard to change. I mean,
Why don't they do that, do you think?
Because, I mean, even to the... If you ever heard the saying, if something is free, then you're the product. In terms of the people who are on welfare, it is one hand. Like, you go into one of these places, and to me, it's turned into, I am what they would call a widget in the business, in terms of I'm a unit of profit. So they sit you in one. So it's, to me, what they're trying to do is they are literally trying to create these units of profit. And it is a division, since COVID, it's a division of society, because the hostels, these places that are supposed to be the springboard up, are now all of the whole mentality in there is, how can we make that person stare at the wall? You've got another issue, which is, to be in one of those places, you've basically got to be dumb as rocks or a drug addict. And drug addicts are very good at being whoever they need to be to someone with money. And so you have a situation where you have a lot of people who used to be protected from this because of their mental health, who are now getting into drugs. And then
Where are you talking to me?
Trying to do is,
where are you talking to me from? Are you staying at a friend's or something tonight? What are you doing?
I am currently in the doorway of Starbucks outside the hospital because there's someone in there I'm looking after. And yeah.
Sorry, you're not sleeping the night outside by Starbucks, are you?
I'm literally in the doorway of Starbucks outside the hospital. It's quite a nice morning.
You're going to be there all night?
I have been. Yeah, I will be till I get to. Basically, the person coming to work is my alarm clock.
All right, listen, Mike. Look after yourself, okay?
Hey man, have you ever heard of a thing called Hermes prophecy?
No. What is it?
Well, basically, it's the concept of when people stop being grateful for the things that God gives them, or the things that we are given, the free things, love, our soul, out there. Well, when you stop being grateful for those, and the material becomes your God, sooner or later, either you've got or I've got, and it is that hits. So even though I've got absolutely nothing, I'm still grateful to be here.
Hermes what?
Hermes prophecy.
Hermes prophecy. I'm going to look it up. That's brilliant.
Have a listen to it before you go to sleep, man. It'll.
All right. Well, you brilliant call. Thank you, Mike. Good luck. Look after yourself, okay? There's Mike, who's in a doorway. There you go. And you think your life's a problem. It's just after 5:15.
This is LBC.
Renault. What would it take for a petrolhead to go electric? All new Renault Megane E-Tech 100% electric with 220 horsepower. All new Renault Megane E-Tech 100% electric. Now available for £399 per month. Order by 3rd of July 2023. Search Renault offers. PCH Mobilised Financial Services, based on iconic 48 months. Advance rental £6,898. No ownership, T's and C's apply.
If you've bought a timeshare, did you really get what you expected? Or were you sold a dream that's now a nightmare? With high maintenance fees, loss of exclusivity, and limited availability, timeshare ownership for many is now just a liability. MyTimeshareClaim.co.uk has helped thousands of owners who are missold exit their contract and receive compensation. For advice and to find out more about your options, text ASSIST to 78900.
To help clear the city's air and support Londoners through the ULEZ expansion, the Mayor of London's scrappage scheme is helping to take the most highly polluting vehicles off the road. So if you're a London resident on certain low-income or disability benefits, you could get up to £2,000 to scrap your vehicle. If you're not eligible, there are other ULEZ support offers, such as bike hire or car club discounts. To find out more, search TfL Scrappage Scheme. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
This is LBC with Ian Payne.
Talking about homelessness, Prince William with his first major interview with a newspaper at the Sunday Times saying he will end homelessness. That's his pledge. He's been inspired by the work of his mother. It's Father's Day today, so a lovely picture taken by, I assume, his wife, with he and his 3 children around him, all smiling naturally. And he says he would actually use part of his own estate in the Duchy of Cornwall to produce social housing. Again, sticking plaster, great idea, laudable, all the rest of it, but just technically not possible. As we've heard in the last hour and 19 minutes, so many people want to talk about this because housing is a major issue. And I was just having a chat with my producer. He was homeless. You know, it can happen to anybody. And you end up sofa surfing, and then eventually, you know, if something happens in your private life, be it someone in your family's ill, your family breaks up, you lose your job, you know, it could be any one of these life-altering events. I had 3 of them happening at the same time. I've said it many, many times. So I got a glimpse of what, you know, economic Armageddon is like ending up. And it's not, even when I was going through the worst of my crisis, when I saw my psychiatrist, he was saying, what you've got to remember is, you know, you've got the 3 fundamentals of life, and you still have them, and that is, you have food, you have water, and you have a shelter. We're talking about people who don't have the 3rd one of those. The basic survival that you need for survival is that, a roof over your head, something to drink, something to eat. And if you don't have one of them, so what do we need to look at it, but I think with our free market and the way that the housing industry has gone, you could say it's Thatcherism gone mad, you could say it's something else. It's not really, it's just market forces, it's capitalism, it's how it works. You wouldn't get this situation in, I don't know, Sweden, for example, would you? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call if you want to tell me, and there's still, we've got 4 slots available, you lucky things. 0345 6060 973. It's a great idea, but is ending homelessness actually feasible? I don't think it is. Philip is in Shoreditch. What do you think? Morning.
Good morning, Ian. I'll just tell you quickly what I do, and then I'll answer your question.
Okay.
I'm a reset worker. Do you know what a reset team is?
I don't know, sorry.
Right, so I work with some of the most vulnerable and excluded in Tower Hamlets, with the homeless. I'm a drug and alcohol worker within a reset team, and I work
nice, we got
in
it
the
done.
hostels. I do in reach. I
Okay,
dispense
so
the needle
the next
exchange
one-
for people.
Oh, wow, you
who
really
use.
are at the sharp end, literally.
I am, yeah. I work with, and Shane and the guy before him really hit the nail on the head. But I just want to add something else, which isn't going to go down very well because I work with these people. The immigration thing is a problem as well. And
The
policy-
immigration thing, explain?
Well, the immigration is a problem. So I work with a lot of people who don't have leave to remain. They come over. They are fleeing persecution, and they come with extreme trauma. They have no recourse to public funds, so there's limited options for them. They can go into emergency bed spaces into certain hostels, but then they have to go to someone else. So. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. You get the rough sleeping, you get the sofa surfing, you get the hostel people that live in hostels, and then you get the extreme drug taking that leads to extreme mental health diagnoses. I'm talking things like paranoid schizophrenia, personality disorders, and yeah, it's just policy. Government policy needs to change.
What would you do to change it, or to at least start to change it?
Well, I'd let people. The people that have no recourse to public funds, they can't work. And a lot of people that come into the charity where I'm based, we provide hot meals free of charge. We provide showers and stuff. And that's for rough sleepers only. But they can't work. And some of them actually do want to work, but they can't. So they're trapped in a vicious cycle. I think immigration policy needs to change as well. I agree with Shane and the caller before that. There's a whole range of other issues that you've got to deal with. A lot of domestic violence, a lot of persecution and trauma history.
But you're never going to be able to solve everybody's problems, are you? You know, there's that line in Jesus Christ Superstar where he says, there will be poor always pathetically struggling. It's not our fault. We can't solve all the world's problems, can we?
No, we can't. I'm just saying that's another issue. I'll also... one of the hardest things I learned when I started this job was some people are so, you call them entrenched rough sleepers. Some people don't actually want to be housed. That was something that I learned.
Is that actually true, though?
Yes, it is true.
What they want to live in a doorway of a shop?
A small number of people, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's really hard reality to learn. I'm not saying lots. I'm saying there is a number.
It's a hardcore.
Yeah, it's almost like an addiction itself.
Wow. And you've worked with these people, so you can tell me that for a fact. That's not just a myth that's been perpetrated by right-wingers.
No,
wow.
I work with these people, and I'm left-wing. I'm very left-wing, trust me. But I currently work with these people.
Right. Okay. So it's not technically feasible, but we can make a little dent in this.
Yeah, so we can make a big dent in it. But I don't think you're going to totally eradicate homelessness.
No, I agree with you. No, I think it's a very sensible... Philip, thank you for calling. Another really good call on this. Let's go to Rich, who's in Chester. Good morning. How are you?
Okay.
Hello.
Here we go.
Yeah, I've never been on the radio before.
Haven't you? How's it feel?
Scary.
Don't be scary. I think I'd rather be on the radio than homeless, wouldn't you?
No, I've been homeless.
Have you?
I wasn't expecting that.
I was in an abusive relationship.
Right.
My ex-wife, who was started off a recovering drug user, who then wasn't. So I got out of that after 4 years, but the council said that because I left, I'd made myself homeless.
Can I don't wish to get sidetracked, but I'm always interested to hear from people who've been in abusive relationships. Was she abusive before you kind of moved in together and before it got serious?
No. As time went on. It was as time went on.
And she had a drug habit?
Yeah, that she was hiding and stuff like that, and then it kind of got more and more, and you try and fix them. But
so were you in social housing when this happened?
No.
So tell us the sort of downfall, if you don't mind me prying.
I just had enough in the end, and I got out of there. But luckily, I was working, but I had 2 giant dogs, like both 10 stone. So I couldn't find anywhere to that take me and the dogs on to live. So I lived in the back of my van for a few months with the dogs.
You see, most normal people listening to this would say, that's a no-brainer, Rich. Get rid of the dogs.
No chance.
You'd actually rather live in a van with the dogs than not without.
Loyalty.
Yeah.
Men's
Wow.
loyalty.
Yeah, right. Dogs for life.
Okay. What breed are they?
Leonberger and Bernese Mauser dog it was.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. With the little barrel of brandy round its neck.
Well, kind of.
You wish. Go on. So what did you do?
Yeah, I was sleeping on the floor of... there was a guy who was contracting to his shop. He let me sleep on the floor there. And then basically a friend's house had a spare room for a short while. Anyway, everything came right in the end.
How come?
I could do that.
I eventually found somewhere that take me and the dogs on with a flat.
So what is this, a private flat?
Yeah, this was a private flat.
I
It was
want the wide ones.
through somebody I knew. That's how I managed to get somewhere that take me and the dogs on.
I think I can hear them.
That's one of them. Yeah, I've got 3 now.
Oh my God, Rich! I suppose the third one's a big one as well.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, they're lovely.
I know they're lovely, needs must and all that, but oh dear. Okay, fair enough.
Dear.
So what is it when
this was 9 years ago. Then.
So when you said to your private landlord, presumably which you have, and you said I'm getting a third dog, what did they say?
Oh no, that's long since gone.
Oh, is it?
I now met somebody else, and I'm living somewhere totally different, and life's completely changed. But also, another complication from living in the van, I got Crohn's disease.
Oh, because of living in the van?
No, I've had it all my life, but that certainly didn't help things.
Can we end homelessness? Is it possible?
Well, I was the one who texted about the idea of putting a clause in for, like when the right to buy, it's not stopping the right to buy, but it's stopping other landlords buying up houses.
Right,
to
I see.
Rent out at an extortionate price.
Yes, well, that's what they do. But it doesn't surprise you, does it, to hear the stories from some of our other callers about how the property market works and you sell them to Hong Kong. That's just
this morning.
I knew. I always suspected that this was going on, but then you hear about Russian oligarchs and money laundering and those kind of those rich taxes. If you spend too much money in Harrods, you're going to get done, and you realise that isn't really the problem. If it is a problem, if you allow market forces to be unrestrained and unregulated, this is what you get. You're incentivising property developers, and boy, are there a lot of them, to build flats because they know that they'll sell them, but they won't sell them to people who, A, can't afford them, and often aren't even in the country. And therein lies the problem. How are you going to solve that? Well, until you change the legislation, do you penalise people for not living in their flat? I would imagine there'll be people legitimately not living in a place who will feel great resentment to that. So what do you do? How do you house people who can't afford, and let's face it, most of us, and I include me in this, can't afford property where they want in a certain area of the... How do you allow people who can't afford to do that to live in either places like that or somewhere else? How do you do it? Well, if you have a property market that is kind of self-regulating and it's a free trade agreement, it is going to stop people being able to do it.
So
that's it. So good luck, Prince William. Love your idea. Not sure it's possible. It's 5:30. Let's get the news headlines from Lottie Morley.
A video appearing to show Conservative Party workers drinking and dancing at a party during the height of lockdown has been released. Published by the Sunday Mirror, the footage is reportedly from December 2020, when strict rules were in place. The Conservative Party says disciplinary action has already been taken against 4 people. The MP for Somerton and Frome, David Warburton, has resigned. He was suspended from the party last year following accusations of sexual harassment and cocaine use, which he denies. The 57-year-old says he's been denied a fair hearing by a parliamentary harassment watchdog. And the Department for Education says 2 new strikes announced by the National Education Union will cause disruption to parents and pupils. Its members in England are due to stage walkouts on the 5th and the 7th of July. The weather, thundery showers will develop throughout Sunday across parts of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Dry and sunny for Scotland with a high of 27 degrees.
LBC. When you move into palliative care, you'd think tropical fish would be the last thing on your mind. But when a cancer patient in Northampton was getting anxious about his beloved pets, Jan from Macmillan Cancer Support collected them, giving Nemo, Charles and King Sebastian the 14th a new home and their owner peace of mind. Macmillan Cancer Support. Wherever you are, we do whatever it takes to help people living with cancer.
I never thought of myself as the giving type, but I guess I am. I give my elderly neighbour's dog a walk every night, despite its barking being my alarm clock every morning. And I give blood when I can, because it helps combat cancer. It takes an hour and saves lives, like my mum's, who was here long enough to see her grandson take his first steps. Hiya! Coming! And she's still here. If you're the giving type, join the thousands of us giving blood every day. Book now at blood.co.uk.
With BT, staying in has never been so good. Now you can get BT broadband, even at ultra-reliable full fibre, from only $26.99 a month with no upfront costs. Plus, a £20 money-back speed guarantee and Norton security. Don't wait. Offer ends 29th of June. Switch to BT today and win at staying in. New customers, CPI plus 2.9% increase each March. 24-month contracts, 29.3% UK coverage terms apply.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Ian Payne.
Yes, it is 27 minutes to 6.
What an angle.
A subject that is obviously close to many of our listeners' hearts, because we have been, and I use the word advisedly, inundated with calls and texts and tweets and smart speaker messages. How do we solve homelessness? Is it possible? Why are you asking this? Because the Sunday Times has a major exclusive interview with Prince William, who has said he will end homelessness. He's been inspired by the work of his mother. He's going to launch a 5-year project, and he actually is prepared to put social housing on his land. And as I say, it's a fantastic idea, but it's okay for a bit, but it's not really getting at the kernel of the problem, which is the housing landscape. If you want to live somewhere, you probably can't afford it, can you? It's always been like this, but it's never been quite as ridiculous now. When I look at my kids in their 20s and see how much they're paying in rent in London, a 1-2-bedroom flat, 2,300 quid a month to rent. I mean, what? Who's earning that much money at that age? And you've got your university tuition fees to pay off, loans, probably borrowing money. Look at what the mortgage companies are saying now. If you're going to remortgage your house, an extra £2,900 a year on top of what you're been paying before. The dear Liz Truss quasi-quarter mini budget added another, well, it certainly added 300 quid to my mortgage. I could just about afford it, and the service charge, which is quadrupled in my 7 years of residency in my particular new build flat. Where does it end? In the end, there just isn't enough money. You can't just print more. It feeds into this whole idea that is this because market forces have just allowed this to happen, or is it something to do with the way in which we're governed? It's a question that is almost impossible to answer. Here's another one. Here was Mark Carney. We were going to do this actually as another hour this morning, but because of the popularity of this, look at that, it's a full switchboard at almost 25 to 6. Mark Carney saying Brexit is to blame for soaring inflation, and people are in denial. They just say no, it isn't. It really isn't. The boss of Tesco saying we've got to get back into the single market. We're hemorrhaging money. It's so obvious. This is why, I don't know, it'd be a huge gamble, and it's why I think that the Labour Party don't go really strong on what they would do, because they don't want to, I don't know if you've heard this phrase, I've used it a lot, Ming Varsling. Have you heard of this phrase where you Ming Vars? It's one of the policies of the Labour Party that I think one of the chief advisors of the Labour Party doesn't like this, but it seems to be a Ming Vase is basically you're walking across a room with a Ming Vase and you won't do anything to disturb the equilibrium in case you drop it and it smashes into tiny pieces and loses its value. And Labour's kind of policy is let's not do anything to rock the boat yet, because we're so far ahead on the polls. I don't know whether that's the best way or not. Brexit. I wonder if Labour said we will consider, or we will have another referendum on Brexit. Do you think that's a vote winner? I probably would vote for that if they said that. Brexit is a disaster. There's no two ways about it. It's a total disaster. It's just affecting so many things. Who was I reading yesterday? I'll try and remember. And it was just like, oh yes, I'll tell you who it was. So Mick Jagger's, no, it wasn't him, it was his brother Chris Jagger, who is married to a woman who is ostensibly Norwegian, except that she lived in Norway for just the first 10 months of her life. She's now 74. She came back from a brief stint abroad last week, and the guy in customs wouldn't allow her through, saying she had a Norwegian passport, because that's what she got when she was 10 months old. She had a Norwegian passport, and there was no proof of residency, because of the fact we'd come out of Europe and she was no longer eligible to live here. And he said, how long have you lived here? She went 74 years. And to prove it, Chris Jagger, who's also a musician, wrote to the Telegraph, or no, wrote to the Times, and included a picture of her classic album cover for a band called Roxy Music in 1974, to prove that she lived in this country and has lived here since she was 10 months old. And this brain-dead bean counter said, no, you're not allowed to come in, or you're going to have to sit here with a police officer while we sort it out. And this is because of Brexit. Again, another disaster has happened because of it. I can't see anything good about it. Yeah, and I'm someone who's really open to being told to change it. Anyway, sorry, I'm piffling on about Brexit when I should be talking about homeless people. Let's go to Sakib, who's in Slough. Good morning.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm enlightened by this conversation, and it proves a lot of my suspicions about the property market. What about you?
I think it's a bold statement for Prince William to come out and say. I think the issue is that, like, he could pledge he wants to do this, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
It's impossible.
I think it's possible, but it's hard to achieve. I think the issue with homelessness, there's not that many people doing things about it. He's come out and said that, but I think if you look at HSBC, I think they're the one of many banks that actually do something. They put the no fixed address.
I don't know this. HSBC have a no fixed address bank account.
Yeah, so if you're homeless, you can actually go to HSBC and you could actually get a bank account sorted. Because usually when you need a bank account, you need your proof of address, you need your ID, etc.
Okay.
And HSBC are quite good with it.
I've never heard of that before. Do you think part of the problem, as some people have said, is that this particular administration, this Tory administration, they're all fairly well off, so they don't really understand what it's like to sofa surf?
I think so. I think the issue I see is with both main political parties. They don't address the issues because I think the issue itself is not profitable, if that makes sense. It doesn't attract voters because it's not a vote win, because Tories introduced, bring your ID and you can vote. Labour ain't going to do that, are they? So I think the way you could tackle it is obviously the amount of money you could donate to a political party. Yeah. I think if you introduce a tax onto that, I don't know, maybe I'm just suggesting, introduce a tax onto donation, you could raise some funds that way, I don't know, and they could help out.
But you're relying on the largesse of the British public, aren't you? And that's a dodgy thing to do, because we get charity fatigue. We're incredible, the amount of money we give to charities when you compare it with other countries, because we are a fairly wealthy country still, despite all the gloomsters and the doomsters. But to rely on the public's generosity to fund a social housing policy, you've got to be really careful with that one. What happens if people say, nah?
That's true, but then again, Labour wanted to tax private schools, so there's like an argument for both sides. And then back to the
it's getting rid of their VAT. Redemption, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Go on.
And then last point is just like when the king inherited all the estate from the queen, he paid no inheritance tax on that. It's like the king could have done something with that money he received from inheriting it from the queen.
Yes.
But nothing was done, so it's just like it's an ongoing issue, and I hope it gets resolved. But
okay. Well, I think what we've. Thank you, Saki. Another really good call on this. God, the quality of calls at this time of the morning on a Sunday on this issue have been really, really kind of sobering, possibly literally. 03456060973. Prince William has said in an exclusive interview with the Sunday Times he wants to end homelessness and is prepared to put sheltered housing, or at least social housing on his land, i.e. that's subsidised housing that people who can't normally afford properties can. Great idea, bit of a sticking plaster job though. I don't want to be a naysayer, but it needs to be more fundamental in our policy of housing and how we house people who can't afford what normal people just about afford. Let's speak to Steve, who's in Stockport. Good morning.
Good morning, Ian.
What can you tell us?
Well, I think a very temporary solution at the moment to get people off the street. The student accommodation is vast throughout England, and between June and September they're empty. So why not councils commandeer some of those accommodation, even for 3 months, to get the people off the street?
What do you do when they all come back for term?
Well, the council then gives council 3 months to get them somewhere else.
Where else are they going to go though? You say we haven't got anywhere for them to live.
That's just temporary for now. Get them off the street. Could be weird. Well, happens if you have a hurricane? We're going to leave them on the street.
No. All I'm saying is you are you are slightly moving deck chairs around the Titanic with this one, because you're solving things, but you're not actually solving the problem, which is where are these people going to go? You might put them in somewhere for the holidays, and I'm sure the universities wouldn't agree to it, but you could. And then what? You still haven't...
Okay, I know they have. In our local council, there's loads of plush offices that are available, and they're not used as council. So big buildings that's empty, they can convert them into accommodation. I could get somebody to do it in 3 months, right? The buildings are built there, the interest are there, they've got loads and loads of empty council properties that would easily make housing.
So why don't the council do anything about it?
They have no will.
Well, it's money, really, isn't it?
In fact, no, they have money. They can get the money to borrow the money, because when the rent's paid on those buildings, they council owns the building, and the money goes back to the council. So, all
right, I'll tell you what I'll do, because I often, people suggest things, and it's a little bit out of my remit. So if anyone works for a council, are there loads of properties that you could convert for homeless? And when I say homeless, not necessarily people living in doorways, but people who don't own or rent their own place, perhaps privately. What do you think? 0345 6060 973. Thank you for saying Greggs has been a disaster. We need more presenters saying this, says Michael. Well, there's quite a few of us now, to be honest. I didn't vote for Brexit. I didn't vote against Brexit. I didn't actually vote in the referendum because I didn't know enough about the subject. Now I do. It's a no-brainer now.
Gonna let this dude pass.
There's naughty of you suggesting the caller get rid of his dogs. Okay. Well, if it's a choice between having your dogs and having a place to live in, surely you have to decide on the human being side. This is his life. They're his life, and I understand perfectly that he wouldn't want to be separated from them. Okay, fine. Well, but he was happy to live in his car and keep the dogs than the other way around, and you have to respect that completely. But
it's a sweet move.
I know what I would think. 0345 6060 973. Bernard says, and this is the elephant in the room. I don't know whether it's part of the homeless problem.
For the sake
I think it is adding to it. I'm not going to lie. With 600,000 to 800,000 people coming into our country every year, its net migration is, was it 600? What was it? Was it about 600? Was it a bit more? We will never get on top of housing, and with it the homeless. We cannot build the equivalent of a new city every year to house all. One of the problems is that we go by the book. I think we need to just think outside the box a little bit when it comes to immigration and homelessness. All these subjects are interlinked. So, for example, the people that are coming on boats or seeking asylum or whatever, we put them in these hostels, we look after them, we put them on barges or wherever, old prisons, or got on RAF bases. Why aren't they allowed to do a little bit of local work while they're waiting? Are they worried that people will just run off into the woods and escape?
Magic school bus.
It's crazy. You've got this problem. We need people to work because we haven't got enough people doing them, labour-intensive jobs. We got all these people sitting around doing nothing. Put them together, maybe? Don't know. Just a thought. Call me crazy. It's just after 5:45.
Have your say, only on LBC.
All taxation is fair, and more taxation is more fair.
I used to be a Conservative voter. I voted Conservative all my life. I cannot wait to vote Labour at the next election.
I'm not seeking political oblivion. I would like him to stand up and go, yes, I have got this wrong.
My husband is never going to get better. With everything going up, I can't pay my mortgage. I'm going to lose my flat. Where is the fairness in that?
Don't miss a moment. Catch up on LBC exclusively on Global Player.
I mean, there are cordials, and then there are cordials. Expertly crafted, no less, with hand-picked elderflowers, don't you know? And then handed to me, preferably in a glass of sparkling. Want to know a secret? I don't let the kids near it. It's just for me and the girls. And that bottle, whew, it's a thing of beauty. Did I tell you how much I love the cordial? It's like evening wear for water. Bottle green, add a dash of extraordinary.
When Greg received his Amazon delivery, his world started spinning. Eco-wash and automatic load adjustment. This washing machine was pure quality for a price that didn't rinse his wallet. 5 stars from Greg. With star reviews from you and star prices from us, start your search on Amazon today.
is porridge oats, price matched at only 84p for 1 kilogram at Tesco. Makes for some tasty overnight oats, which make themselves overnight. Fancy that. That's true value. Tesco. Every little helps. Serving suggestion. Price match 8 for 6. Pro rata versus GBLD. Check twice weekly. Excludes promo. Selected stores. Excludes Express from Northern Ireland. Details tesco.com/LD price match.
Does your broadband slither around your home? And at peak times, do things feel a little constricted? Well, not when you get full fiber broadband from EE. You get the peak time speeds you pay for. Count on EE. Full fiber broadband. Powered by BT.
Limited availability. Check coverage at ee.co.uk/coverage.
Ian Payne on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Your calls are beginning to slow down, which has gone down well with my phone answering production team, whose fingers are red hot with an incredible number of calls on this subject. Homelessness is still very much at the heart of many of you, and how strongly you feel about it. After 6 o'clock, we will actually change things somewhat. This is because of certainly if you were in London yesterday, you would have been aware of this massive procession protest. Well, there was like one protest and a counter protest. This is of this woman who was sent to jail after she self-terminated her pregnancy after 8 months, and she was sent to jail because that is the law. There's a huge outcry from, and it was mostly women who were marching through London yesterday, basically saying you shouldn't have a custodial sentence for something like that. You know, the problem is there aren't the services available to do it. It's illegal to do it after a certain, is it 28 weeks? I'll finalise what the current legislation is on this. So this is, we make no apologies for making it a more female, a female-leaning hour, shall we say, rather than men. Of course, I'd like to hear from men, but I particularly want to hear from women. Is this actually an argument that is prevalent? I find it's quite difficult, because there were also counter-demonstrators there. So you had the full gamut, you see. You have, where I live, we have a sort of abortion clinic or termination centre, as it's called. And outside there, the pro-lifers are there 24/7 with their little chairs and handing out leaflets to people. So on the one hand, you've got people who say, we don't want any termination ever. As soon as a baby is conceived or an embryo is fertilised, that is that. Leave it alone. It's a human being. There are others who say, as in the protesters yesterday, even if you abort at the age of, after 8 months, pretty fully formed embryo at 8 months, to be honest, is that actually deserving of a custodial sentence, or is it, as I would say, murder? Isn't it?
As
if
you
you're
would
deliberately
say.
doing that, if you're deliberately destroying a child at that age, or maybe you don't think anyone should deserve to go to prison. I understand that this lady's circumstances were such, I think she had 3 children, she was at her wit's end. She tried every which way to find out about termination, but she hadn't been able to, and bought these, what were they called, teddy pills or something? Anyway, I'm not trying to promote it. I think it's an interesting argument. Because I'm a guy, I haven't really had this argument very much. So I would like to hear from women and girls who, after 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, is this a big issue? What is the general thinking from women now of a certain age about abortion and being able to terminate a pregnancy? Because I'd like to have that debate. I didn't know about the strength of feeling for people. I would have thought most people would think you deserve some sort of punishment, be it custodial or not, for ending a pregnancy and after 8 months. See, that seems to me. But if there's a big council opinion who support that movement, I would love to hear from you. 0345 6060 973. Philip says you can't terminate after 24 weeks. Can we just check that? Do you think, Sam? We could just check what the law is. It's 28.
Okay.
It is in Great Britain. Abortion, you're right, is generally allowed for socio-economic reasons during the first 24 weeks of pregnancy, which is a later term than limit than most other countries, and after this point for medical reasons. Okay, so if you were going to lose your life or be severely handicapped because then you might be able to get, but I don't think this was the case, was it? Just reminds you of the sort of 40s and the 50s when people would go to these backstreet clinics and use knitting needles. Oh my God! You We don't want that, do we? Anyway, let's go to Robert in Chiswick. Now, I'm told you're a bit nervous, Robert. Why?
I feel like playing the phone, so I've already been on 4 times on the radio.
Ooh, listen to you. On you go then. What do you want to tell us?
Well, at the start of the COVID situation, I've been living on the streets 12 years.
And you literally mean on the street in doorways?
Yeah.
Goodness me. And did you choose to do that, as some people say you do?
Sort of, yes and no.
Fit through.
I had a mental breakdown.
Go on.
At that time, I was living in Station in Crawley.
I have to try the other way.
I'm a Hounslow Council resident, brought up children down. My kids still live in the borough.
So you are living? Are you ringing us from a street in Chiswick?
Yeah, I'm behind Chiswick Highway, behind one of the sushi shops.
Okay, and people will go, well, how come you got a mobile phone then?
Because if you look around every now and again, you can see plug sockets outside shops and restaurants.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the power packs as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how did you know we were talking about this? How were you listening to us?
I've got radio as well.
Way. Get the Global Player app.
I've been on the street so long, I've made sure I'm comfortable.
How can you be comfortable on the street? Literally, I don't understand that.
It's about. Look at it from my side.
On my
I've got a
way
radio,
there,
so I can listen to
I'm
music and
gonna
that. I've got a phone, so I can contact
fuel.
the kids can contact me.
Yeah.
That's sort of comfortable.
All right, but I'm more worried about the fact that you haven't got a shelter and you could
only 3 near me.
Be very ill from exposure.
Well, no one's really worried about the last 12 years.
How do you keep warm at night?
Something my dad used to say, put another jumper on.
Oh, okay.
Just don't get wet.
Don't get wet. What happens if you do?
Can't keep yourself warm.
Where do you go when you need to have a shower? Do you ever have one?
Some people say I don't, but I've got a few friends that help me out with washing clothes, shower. If the weather is that bad, they will offer floor.
And so you've been doing this. You've been doing this for 12 years.
Yeah. In 08.
Do you have a medical checkup ever?
I've had a few, but I think it was about 10 years ago. I actually broke my back. I broke vertebrae 4 or 5 back.
How did you do that?
This is when I had 1 or 2 more problems than what I have now, because I actually stopped drinking about 5 years ago.
Right.
But the incident with the back is there was a little bit of land. Lots of people went drinking, smoking spliffs, whatever. And someone stepping closer and closer to the edge, and I thought they were going to go. So I got up to stop them, and they pushed me.
Okay, so, and what was... I presume you want to get off the street, do you?
As I said, at the start of COVID, I was actually given the keys to a flat.
Okay.
The temporary one, I was there for about 6 months, and then they gave me the keys to a proper one.
Right. And why? How come you're still not there?
I've been evicted.
Why were you evicted?
The neighbour opposite has got a video doorbell.
Right.
And obviously, every time someone or something triggers it triggers his phone.
Yeah.
But I've lived on the streets for many a year. I'm not staying in when I want to go out. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I want to go out, I'll go out.
What do you want to do at 4 in the morning?
Go for a walk, look for dog ends or something like that.
Okay. Now,
I'll be right back. I just gotta grab another drink.
Do you think ending homelessness is possible or not?
No.
No, I agree with you. Okay, listen, Robert, I've got one more call. I just want to get to one more call. Will you forgive me? I've got to get... Don't be nervous. Do keep ringing, because this is a very, very important subject. Thank you, Robert. Jason in Marylebone, your view on this. Give us a sort of a summing up of what we've heard and the fact that I don't think it's possible. Do you?
It's not possible because I work in central London and I speak to people a bit like the guy you just spoke to, and there are certain people that literally don't want to be rehomed. They want to stay on the street, which is their choice, okay? But let me just give you a very quick summary of what happened to me. I found out last October that I was going to be evicted from the family home that I was living in with my family. I spoke to the local council, who then turned around and said to me, you have to wait until you're actually evicted before we can rehouse you, which is beyond stupid. Okay, this is facts. Okay, I've got every bit of evidence. I'll sit in your office with you one day and go through it with you.
That's ridiculous.
This is absolute. It's ridiculous. So they said to me, you have to. We can only put you in emergency housing. But for you to qualify for emergency housing, you have to be actually evicted before we can do that, okay? So on the 4th of January, as predicted, I got evicted, okay? The flat that they offered me, a 2-bedroom flat in Luton, and we all work in central London, was not acceptable. It meant that I and my daughter would have lost our jobs had we have gone to that particular flat. So we ended up sofa surfing.
I've literally got about 30 seconds, Jason. Sorry, mate.
We did that for 4 months. But what I want to say to you is that they need to look outside the box. Somebody like me could have offered them £1,000 a month and they could have made up the balance. But they won't do stuff like that. They just won't do it. So they don't want to get rid of homelessness. They want to make it ridiculous.
It feels like it's a playing field that has got so many minds on it, you don't know where to start. Listen, I'm sorry again that was so short, but that's been an extraordinary 2 hours, I have to say. I wasn't expecting that when I got up at 2 o'clock this morning. Thank you. What about the abortion law? Thousands marching in London yesterday say you shouldn't go to jail for a late abortion.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 6 o'clock, a video has emerged appearing to show a group of Conservative Party workers drinking and dancing at a party during the height of lockdown. Published by the Sunday Mirror, the footage is reportedly from December 2020. Staff can be seen partying together while restrictions were in effect. The Conservative Party says disciplinary action has already been taken against 4 people. Journalist Rachel Sharby has been looking at the video.
There is something so visceral about seeing this in video format. It is absolutely sickening to watch this revelry at a time when lockdown was imposed. You can hear someone in the video ask about the fact that it's being filmed and then say, as long as we don't stream that we're like bending the rules. So they knew exactly what they were doing.
The MP for Somerton and Frome, David Warburton, has resigned. He was suspended from the party last year following accusations of sexual harassment and cocaine use, which he denies. The 57-year-old says he's stepping down because he's being denied a fair hearing by a parliamentary harassment watchdog. The Department for Education says 2 new strikes announced by the National Education Union will cause disruption to parents and pupils. Its members in England are due to stage walkouts on the 5th and 7th of July. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Beijing for talks with members of the Chinese government. He's now the highest-ranking US government official to visit the country since President Biden took office in January 2021. Relations between Beijing and Washington deteriorated earlier this year after a series of suspected Chinese spy balloons flew across the United States. And thunder, lightning and heavy rain is expected to affect large parts of the UK today. A yellow weather warning for thunderstorms between noon and midnight will cover most of England and parts of Wales. Flash flooding could lead to some tricky driving conditions. The weather, thundery showers will develop throughout Sunday across parts of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Drier and sunnier for Scotland with a high of 27 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Lottie Morley.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ian Payne.
Good morning. Ian Payne with you until 7 o'clock at Andrew Castle's Sunday Breakfast. It's coming up to 3 minutes past 6. It's Sunday, it's June the 18th. I want to talk about our current abortion laws. I didn't realise it was still such a contentious issue. When I was listening and watching the debate about in the United States about abortion, where some states now actually make it illegal to have any sort of abortion at any length of pregnancy, I was thinking, honestly, at least we're a little bit more sophisticated and we're a bit more in the future than they are. Not so, it appears. There's a huge groundswell of opinion amongst women, and I particularly want to hear from, well, I kind of would like to hear from just women, really. I don't want to exclude men, but it's your hour, really, to talk about this. I don't necessarily feel I have the knowledge and the biology to completely understand all of this, even though my father was a consultant gynecologist and obstetrician. However, having said that, what are we talking about here? We're talking about termination, as my dad used to call it, or abortion to you and me. This is the case of the 44-year-old mother of three who was jailed last week for carrying out a late abortion on her baby of 34 to 32 weeks, which is about 8 months. So just a month before the baby was due to be born. Now, what it's done is highlighted the British law around the termination of pregnancy. There was a huge demonstration yesterday, and a counter-demonstration, it should be said, slightly smaller, of people who think quite the opposite, don't think you should be allowed to have a termination, whatever the case. I mean, in some American states, they're saying you're not allowed an abortion even if you've been raped, which is just crazy. But anyway, I don't want to go down that road. So thousands of abortion rights activists were protesting just around here. They staged a show of support for the woman who was jailed for 2 years for breaking the abortion laws. The protest was sparked after a 44-year-old mother of three was given a 28-month extended sentence earlier in the week after taking abortion pills after the 24-week limit. So it's a 24-week limit, and she took these pills for a termination after 32 to 34 weeks. Protesters descended on London, marching from the Royal Courts of Justice to Whitehall, demanding an end to the criminalisation of abortion. No matter how late the termination, do you think somebody should be punished by being sent to prison for this or not? On first glance, I would have thought it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it? Really? You are essentially killing someone, aren't you? Or are you still of the opinion that you're not someone until you're born? The pro-life lobby will tell you you're someone as soon as you're conceived, from fertilisation of the egg. That's after which it's murder. So I don't know. Here's an interesting take on this. This is a guy called Dr. Jonathan Law, who, like my dad, is a consultant gynecologist who attended the ladies' sentencing on Wednesday. He actually wrote to the judge to advocate for leniency. This is what he told us.
We were very concerned about the message that a custodial sentence would send out on our ability to deliver NHS services, and probably most of all, this is an extremely rare scenario, but it affects the very most vulnerable and the very most desperate. And these are exactly the type of patients that we need to bring into their healthcare services, identify and safeguard and offer them the care and compassion they need. And if there's a message going out that if they are open and honest with us, then they'll end up in jail and end up being sort of publicly shamed, then it's clearly a major deterrent to them seeking our services. I was actually in court for the sentencing, and it was absolutely devastating. I mean, I think it was probably the most harrowing moment of my career, watching what happened. So heaven knows how a family and children are suffering now. But what we heard in court was of someone who was so desperate that she had done internet searches of how to cause self-harm, how to, whether sort of abdominal injuries would cause a miscarriage. And, you know, I don't presume to be able to know what was going through her mind, but it just brought back for me the stories we heard, which thankfully my generation haven't seen, but my predecessors did, of the 1950s and 60s, which is where the only options open to women were the sort of, were the ghastly, self-injuries, knitting needles and that sort of thing. And I think in this particular case, she did her research and then went down the easiest route, which was to come down the telemedicine route. But ironically, one of the big advantages of the new telemedicine pathway is it seems to have almost stopped people having to go to illicit sources. The data we have is that before telemedicine was there, a charity who's willing to give data who will send abortion pills to people otherwise unable to get them. They were getting about 5 requests a week from the UK, and that dropped to 0 when telemedicine came in.
I'll try and find out a little bit more about Teddy Benson. I think this is to do with Teddy Wilson, isn't it? The US investigators editor for I'll have to double check that. Anyway, so basically, this is medicine that allows you to have a late termination. Should it be legal? Should it be not? We're also going to dig out a little bit of the Labour MP Stella Creasy, who actually gave a speech to the protesters yesterday. She basically said, in essence, this week proves what some of us have been trying to tell, often at length, patiently, to middle-aged men on Twitter. Here we go. We do not have a legal right to choose in England and Wales, and that has very real consequences. There have been 67 legal prosecutions of women in the past 10 years under the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861. Maybe we might need to revisit that and modernise it. 1861 law they're basing this on. She said this legislation was no longer fit for purpose. It's a piece of legislation, especially sections 58 and 59, that are no longer fit for purpose. And as I stand here today, this is Stella Creasy, the Labour MP, who addressed the women protesters, and they mainly were women, yesterday. I stand here today asking what your red line is, because absolutely these cases are difficult, nobody doubts that, but what we're asking for is a starting point of compassion, because we now found a mother of 3 children, one of whom has special education needs, in prison. So that's what we're doing. We're weighing up the rights of the child that was terminated, I'm sorry to say that, against the 3 children who are already alive and having been born to this woman. Now that's a Sophie's choice, isn't it? I mean, who wants to make that decision?
Used to this
Whose interest does that serve to keep punishing this women? And before I listened to all this debate yesterday, I'd kind of made up my mind about abortion. Maybe I'm one of those middle-aged men that Stella Creasy is referring to here. Not that I would ever go on Twitter to talk about abortion. I don't really go on Twitter at all, to be honest. It's such a minefield. But maybe she's got a point here. What do you think? 0345 6060973 is the number to ring. Ring now, you get through. So people waiting already. Text 84850. You can tweet at LBC. You can ask your smart speaker Alexa's, please send a comment to LBC. One protester who regularly attends pro-abortion rallies, who's called Fiona, she travelled from Birmingham. She spoke to Sky News. She said, I'm here for my daughter, for me and all women. It's a difficult subject for many people. But I think as women, we need to be able to decide for ourselves whether we have a baby. Every child deserves to be wanted. It's about human rights, isn't it? Again, this subject. The human rights of the mother, the human rights of the children she's already had, and the human rights or right of the baby that's 8 months old to exist. Did you get some? Okay. So here is a little bit more. It might actually be going back on what I've said. So here's Stella Creasy actually addressing the protesters yesterday.
What this case, and indeed the other live cases where other women in England and Wales are being threatened with prosecution for having an abortion, does is show it's simply not true that in the UK you have a legal right to an abortion, and that many of the protections that women take as standard for their own right to choose are threatened by it. This prosecution serves nobody's interest. We're seeing a mother of 3 children, one with special needs, being imprisoned because of a law that was written in the 1800s that is simply out of date for today's country. And that's why we urgently need to reform this, to give every woman in the United Kingdom, not just those in Northern Ireland who already have it, a legal human right to a safe abortion at the time of her choosing. It's the law itself. Nobody wants to change the term limits, but we recognise in the 21st century a woman should have bodily autonomy. And what this law does is it denies that, because it says in this country you can't have an abortion unless 2 doctors decide, frankly, that it would cause you greater harm if you didn't. It's not legal to have an abortion in England, Wales and Scotland. I cannot stress that enough, because this law remains on our statute book. The contrast is where Northern Ireland, where we removed this law from the statute and brought in a modern, human rights-led framework to recognise and reflect the rights of women to make choices over their own bodies. It's a bit worrying, isn't it, when the government doesn't even know that abortion is not legal in this country. What the 1967 Act did is it gave exemption from prosecution under certain circumstances, and what this case and the other live cases in courts at the moment of women in this country, not America, not Poland, not El Salvador, all the stories you see online in this country show, is that that right, that exemption isn't good enough in the 21st century. Abortion is not a criminal matter, it's a healthcare matter. This case in Stoke is a horrifically tragic case with very human consequences. It serves nobody to have had this prosecution.
That was Stella Creasy, the Labour MP, talking about the protest march yesterday. I must admit, being a middle-aged man, I didn't really realise this was such a debate, particularly for women. Well, really, basically. And I would like you to tell me which side of the fence you're on. As I say, I'd really just like to hear from women rather than men, but if you want to have a comment, please get in touch. The number to ring is 0345 6060973. If you would like to text us 84850. If you want to tweet, the address couldn't be simpler, at LBC, or if you want to ask your smart speaker to send a message to LBC. Whose side of the fence, which side of the fence are you on? Morning, Ian. Regarding the abortion, says Katie, may I point out that if the woman's partner had caused the death of that unborn baby via the mother's murder or assault by poisoning her, that man would be prosecuted for the murder of that child, as well as the assault or death of the baby's mother. I therefore say that that unborn baby is a person with rights. Therefore, surely the mother, by aborting that baby, killed an actual baby and therefore had to be prosecuted. On the face of it, I would agree with you, but I realise now there's a lot of nuance here as well, and each case needs to be handled on its merits, which is why using case law, particularly case law from 1861, might not be the most foolproof way of making sure justice is served here. 0345 6060973. Ian, it's telemedicine, not Teddy. Oh, right. I thought it was something to do with teddies and babe. Telemedicine. All right, I'll look it up. Thank you for putting me right. I told you I was a novice here. And Gabby says, I'm pro-choice, but terminating a viable fetus, which is effectively a baby, is one step away from murder. She could have waited a month and allowed it to be adopted. Is that not? Can you imagine? I do think she deserves a prison sentence, as does everyone I've spoken to. It's monstrous. It gives me the creeps every time I think about it. And on the face, I agree with you, and I agreed with you. And then I heard the arguments from people like Stella Creasy, and I began to sort of question a few things. Who does this benefit? Yes, I know the law talks about saying if you self-terminate at that age, of course,
so the main
it's murder.
rule
It
that
has
I'm giving back to myself.
The question
is
also remains, with 3 other children, one who needs special educational needs, who is it serving at the moment? I don't know. I can't make up my mind. So I'd like to hear from all of you. Get in touch now. We've got quite a few slots available so far. 0345 6060973, and when I come back, I shall hopefully have educated myself a little bit more about telemedicine. Not
LBC. Join me, Andrew Castle, here on LBC.
Johnson quits as MP over Partygate.
We haven't got a Labour government yet, but a lot of people would say that Boris Johnson's made that far more likely. He had an 80-seat majority. Admittedly, some extraordinary events in any parliament have unfolded, but he's proven himself not a man of application. Andrew Castle.
With Enterprise. Whatever vehicle you need, whenever you need it.
LBC.
I worry I'm bringing the mood down at work. I fear every time I get new results. And I take calls in the garden so the family can't hear. I don't like talking about the future. Will I be well enough for football with the kids? Or drinks with my mates? It's hard to find the words. Where do I start?
Unfolding. It's always the start of something special. Unfolding deck chairs at the first sign of summer, a pizza box the second it's delivered, or your tent on day one of a festival, and cheersing because you remembered to pack the pegs this year. And then there's a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. which unfolds to double the screen size, making every gripping game and bingeable show twice as epic.
Buy a Galaxy Z Fold 4 today and get £200 cash back. Purchase before the 4th of July from a participating retailer. Claim from Samsung within 30 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
I've lost my car keys. Lost a car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair. Lost that a while back. But this week I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. The tst of a fizzy drink. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. Got hearing aids from £495 and bosh, those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. You're better off with Specsavers. Book a free hearing test today.
That it's worth doing.
Still can't find those keys though.
At Macmillan, we know it's not easy to talk about cancer. You want to protect the people around you. But talking could help. Whether it's about your diagnosis, worries about work and money, or you just need to get something off your chest. From the big things to the smallest stuff. Find the words with Macmillan. For free support and advice over the phone and online, search Find the Words.
Yeah,
with
this
Macmillan.
is going to be the heavy one.
Ian
56
Payne on LBC.
times.
Call 0345 6060973.
Okay, well, this appears to be a far lively debate than I first considered. This is the debate that led to the big protest march here in London yesterday about when is a woman allowed to terminate their pregnancy. Should it just be up to them, or should there be legislation to stop them doing it when the baby is after, at the moment, the law says 24 weeks. This is after the 44-year-old woman who was sent to jail for over 2 years, even though she has 3 kids, one who has special educational needs, after she terminated her pregnancy after 32 to 34 weeks, which is essentially a month before the baby was due to be born. On the face of it, that is a crime. And does it deserve a custodial sentence? Probably, yes, because effectively we are talking about
What did I just see?
Aren't we? However, she got these, it's telemedicine, not telemedicine,
You know what?
so I
I'm
do
going up
apologise.
the longer way.
Telemedicine is basically, after COVID, you get a consultation on Zoom. So you wouldn't be face-to-face, it would be remote. And as I understand it, that she actually asked for these termination pills via telemedicine, via a Zoom call, when she was already within the legal limit, so before 24 weeks. It was 28, and then in 1991 it changed to 24 weeks, after which it's illegal to abort a pregnancy, unless, of course, there are severe medical reasons why. So, whose human right is more important? Hers, her children, or the unborn baby? That's what we're saying here. At the moment, we are, the law is veering towards the unborn baby. Here's
It might be a nightmare,
COVID
to be
has always
honest.
complicated things. During the
Only one way to find
COVID-19
out.
background, at-home abortion pills were made available by post for people seeking an abortion in the first 10 weeks of pregnancy, whereas before they would have had to attend a clinic in person, and the measure was made permanent in August 2020. In Northern Ireland, abortion itself was only decriminalised in 2019. Goodness. Okay, let's get going, Alan. Right, all females on the board at the moment, which is exactly how we want it, because this is your debate. Francis is in Hampshire. Good morning.
Good morning.
Which way do you think?
I'm thinking on the woman's, I feel for the woman who's got to be sent to prison for this. Yes, I just feel it's extremely harsh to send her to prison for 2 years. I myself had an abortion back in 1971, and I was absolutely, the climate back then was such that you were too scared to even tell your own parents that you were pregnant, literally.
How? Do you mind me asking, how late was the termination?
It wasn't late. It was before 10 weeks,
right,
12 weeks.
Yeah, and even that was traumatising.
It was extremely traumatising. I went by myself back in those days you had something called Pregnancy Advisory Service. I went to a room in Hounslow with my friend, and we were given the name of a clinic. And I went to a clinic on my own, and my family, my parents didn't even know I was there. I was too frightened. My parents were good parents. I was too scared in 1971 to tell them that I was doing this. And I did it on my own. Anything could have happened to me.
What? You did it on your own without any medical intervention?
No, I went to a clinic
I see.
in London.
Right.
Went to a clinic in London.
Okay.
And they terminated. But nowadays, I mean, it's a world away. You wouldn't, generally speaking, do that nowadays because the climate has changed. You can be a single mum. You can be a single parent. Nobody bats an eyelid now. But back in the 1970s, it was not like that.
Do you think that this woman should have been punished?
Yeah, but I don't think she should have been sent to prison.
Yes.
There could have been alternative ways. She's got other children.
No, I think that's where this debate has taken off, and I don't know. I can't conceive of anybody feeling that desperate that they would try and terminate their pregnancy so late. No, the trauma must have been absolutely huge. I would have thought, but you've got to be in a pretty desperate position, haven't you, if you're going to make a decision like that? So I guess it comes down to no one would say what she did was right, whatever the circumstances. However, do you think she should have actually received a prison sentence? 0345 6060 973 if you'd like to get on there. And I prefer to try and keep it to just female callers, but obviously if you're desperate to come on and you're a man, please tell me. 0345 6060 973. Jill's in Sidcup, good morning.
Hello, Ian.
Hi. What do you think about this subject?
Well, I'm not totally against terminations because it does depend on circumstances, but a very late one experience. My granddaughter was born at 28 weeks, and she's quite old. She's a 19-year-old now. It's very mild cerebral palsy, which doesn't really affect her, only when she trips up. But no, so I mean, you know, to go later than 28 weeks when, you know, the fetus is fully formed virtually, apart from perhaps the lungs, I think, and that's the only issue there. It is very, very late. I mean, as for this lady, I mean, I don't know, I mean, not much about it, what advice she got or who she went to for help before that, if she was turned away. But also, I used to work quite a few years back on a ward where the terminations took place. Obviously not that late, but early pregnancies. But again, it depends on circumstances. But you know, a few of them were people that you saw come back again and again, almost as if it was used as a contraceptive thing. You know, oh well, you know, I get pregnant, but I'm going to have a termination. You know, so I think that was the attitude then. You know, back in.
What do you think should happen to someone who terminates themselves so late?
Again, it depends. I mean, if she's... Depends on circumstances, but very, very late. No, I don't think termination... Obviously, there should be something in place for people, perhaps like this woman, I don't know the background or whatever, but, you know, to help her before she gets to, say, 20 weeks. I think even 24 is a bit late, to be honest.
Do you think that someone who does this so late should be sent to prison?
In a way, yes, because it would, you know, you don't want this kind of thing happening all the time when, you know, children are born, you know, 28 weeks, as I say, even less than that, 26 weeks, and they grow up to be normal, you know, healthy children.
I understand. Difficult. Thank you, Jill. I understand the sort of the outrage here, and it's in a way maybe some good will come out of it. The fact that we're debating it here, and the fact that it's going to become part of a debate, possibly in Parliament. I don't know. You need something drastic and something horrifying sometimes, even though people are hurt by it. But you need something like that sometimes to actually stimulate the debate here, and that's exactly what we're doing. Sarah says, what does Sarah say? I've no idea what Sarah says.
I think I'm going to call it a
just
night
gone.
at Lee.
No, it's back. Sarah says, what she did was disgusting. She planned for weeks and then purposefully turned away the one chance the baby had for survival in order to make sure her daughter was dead. Court file makes awful reading. They should always carry a prison sentence.
And I could actually...
I
can actually get a job ahead of time if one is available.
Maybe I shouldn't really have an opinion on this. Maybe it's not really for men to have an opinion on this, isn't it? This should be a law that's actually made by women, shouldn't it be? 03456060973. Glyn says, oh dear, having held the dead body of a 22-week granddaughter and watched my stepson carry her coffin, this woman at 32 weeks has committed infanticide, the murder of a baby. At 24 weeks, a baby is classed as viable, able to survive if born, and I can assure you resembles a child. Too tearful to call in, says Glyn. 03456060973. Whose side are you on here? This is the court case last week that has created a very big protest march here in London yesterday, in which the argument is, even though she terminated her own pregnancy after 8 months, she should not have received a custodial sentence because we're basing our case law on a piece of legislation that was made in 1861. Yes, there are amendments to how late a termination has to take place for it to be illegal. It was 28 weeks. Now it's come down since new legislation in 1991 to 24 weeks. What do you think? Do you think that this woman should have been punished? Okay. 2, do you think that this woman should have received a custodial sentence? Does the circumstance of her life make any difference? Well, the law would say no, even though she's got 3 children, one of whom has got educational needs. So she was obviously in a desperate state. Anyone who's been to the court has said that the case was harrowing, the distress on the woman's face because she knew she was going to prison and she wasn't going to be able to look after her children. What happens to those children? Every case is difficult. Every case needs to be looked at for its own merits. But do you think that someone should be sent to prison for terminating a pregnancy this late? As I say, I'm not sure I have an opinion on this. I'd much rather hear from you. 0345 6060 is the number to ring. It's 6:30. Let's get the latest headlines with Lottie Morley.
Video footage has emerged appearing to show Conservative Party staff at a party during lockdown. In the video, obtained by the Mirror newspaper, a group can be seen dancing and holding hands. The Conservatives say disciplinary action has already been taken against 4 people. A Conservative MP accused of sexual harassment and drug abuse has resigned, triggering a by-election in his Somerton and Frome constituency. David Warburton was suspended from the party in April 2022, pending the outcome of an investigation into the allegations, which he denies. And teachers in England have announced they will go on strike again next month. National Education Union members will walk out on the 5th and 7th of July in a dispute over pay and school funding. The weather, thundery showers will develop throughout today across parts of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Dry and sunny for Scotland with a high of 27 degrees.
LBC. Did you know DVLA lets you spread the cost of your vehicle tax by paying via direct debit, so you can pay in 12 installments, making it easier than ever to keep every bit of your vehicle taxed, including your horn, indicators, seat belts, engine, and even the radio. Tax your vehicle via direct debit today at gov.uk/DVLA/tax it. Tax it, don't risk it. A 5% surcharge applies for monthly and 6 monthly payments.
If you've lost money to a scammer, the system has failed you. There are safeguards in place to detect and prevent fraud. So if you've been tricked into sending money to a scammer, then we can help you get it back, even if you've been told no. CEL Solicitors are specialists in fraud and scam recovery. Rated excellent on Trustpilot, we can help you recover your money from the system. Visit celsolicitors.co.uk.
The London Bath Company, for bathrooms designed and installed the way they should be. For your free bathroom design, find your nearest showroom at thelondonbath.co.uk.
The Ford Ranger, a vehicle for all terrains and every passion. It's a workmate, a playmate, and to its drivers, a soulmate. So how do you improve the Ford Ranger? You go all in. The all-new Ford Ranger, the UK's best-selling pickup. Now available with rear bumper steps, tailgate workbench, and enlarged load box that can fit a Euro pallet. Go break it in. Search all-new Ford Ranger. Ford Pro. Driving productivity. According to SMMT data, features may be optional extras with additional cost.
At Lidl, we're always little on price. And now we're proud to officially be the Super Grocer 33 cheapest basket. Beating all of the supermarkets, even with their special loyalty cards. Join 17.5 million other savvy shoppers at Lidl and start saving today. Now that's big on quality and always little on price. Lidl.co.uk/cheapest basket. 17.5 million based on Kantar 52-week data to the 14th of 5th, 23.
Did you know Vodafone launched the UK's fastest Wi-Fi technology throughout the home?
Really?
Yep.
So what does that mean?
That means you can game, stream and surf at speed in every room.
Bedroom?
Yep.
Bathroom?
Yep.
Attic room?
Yep.
Actually, I shouldn't
If
do
you have
that.
one.
Games room?
Where do you live?
Wow, that's a lot of rooms.
Yeah. Switch to Vodafone Pro 2 broadband, the UK's fastest Wi-Fi technology throughout the home.
UK broadband providers offering comparable plans based on UK average two-floor home. Check availability in your area. Verify at vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
This is LBC with Ian Payne.
We're talking about the thousands of people who marched through London yesterday after a woman was sent to jail for taking abortion pills after the legal limit. She took it after 8 months. So well after it was legally available. She's 44. She's a mother of 3 other children, one of whom has special educational needs, but she's been jailed for over 2 years for carrying out a late abortion on her baby of 32 to 34 weeks. I'll try and find out what her mitigating circumstances were. I think it was basically, I think she got these pills via telemedicine, which is like you do a consultation via Zoom or not face-to-face, but remotely. And I think she had them within the legal limit, but didn't take them until later. And I'm trying to find out why she took them so late, to be honest. But it's galvanised the pro-abortion movement. Thousands of women marching through London yesterday, and there were lots, not as many, but some people demonstrating for quite the opposite as well. People who would call this infanticide. But basically, it's highlighted British abortion law, which states that in the majority of cases after 24 weeks, any abortion is a criminal offence. But Stella Creasy, the Labour MP, who gave a speech to protesters, said that she's been trying to tell this at length patiently to middle-aged men on Twitter. She said, "We do not have a legal right to choose in England and Wales. There have been 67 legal prosecutions of women in the past 10 years under the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861. And if nothing else, we surely need to re-examine a law that's as old as that, shouldn't we?" Right, delighted to say, virtually a full board and all female. So here's Julie in Edinburgh. Hello, Julie.
Hi. I think the Labour MP has turned it into the rights of women against the rights of men, but that's, I suppose, the point here. I do feel that morally and legally she should have went to prison, because there's the prisons full of women who have children, so it's because she's got children doesn't mean that she shouldn't go to prison. I believe that, the child, say for example, if she, that tablet she took, if it induced the baby and it was born alive, would she have had the right to kill the baby after it was born? And no, she would, because people would be outraged, because if you killed the baby after it was born, it would be wrong. And it's the same, for example, when it's in the womb. It's a fully formed baby. It's able to.
I don't think anybody is arguing that what she did was wrong. I think people are arguing, did she deserve a custodial sentence for that, bearing in mind her circumstances?
Yes, she did deserve a custodial sentence because you have broken the law. You know what I mean? And with support, I do feel she should have mental health support along the process of being in prison. I can't understand why she would have went down that process, because she's already had 3 babies, she's already had 3 children, so she's not naive to the process of pregnancy, and she would know the baby would be moving in the womb, and the only thing the baby would be doing from that age onward in the womb is put on weight. And the kind of aspect about women's rights over her body, nobody, not one person in this country has 100% right over their body. So, for example, I can't impose my rights onto somebody else's rights if it affects them or it harms them in any way. So nobody has 100% right over their body. And therefore, one has to ask the question then, is a child after 24 or 28 weeks as a human being, can a woman impose her rights on that child?
Yes, well, this is the argument that they've been having for years. On another note, do you think that this idea of pills by post, where you don't have to see your doctor, you can just do it remotely, are there dangers in that now that have been highlighted by this case, do you think?
Yeah, seriously wrong, because even during COVID, there were possible ways of actually someone attending hospital, because people still had to go to hospital. So I think it's very wrong of them to send it out, because they don't know who they're sending it out to. I mean, you could send it to somebody who is not pregnant at all and give it to somebody who is pregnant. I mean, that's seriously wrong to send it out through the post.
Okay, I'm getting some more details of it. Thank you very much indeed, Julie. The woman at the centre of the case was at least 32 weeks or 8 months into her pregnancy when she induced the stillbirth of her daughter, whom the court in Stoke-on-Trent referred to as Lily. The 44-year-old, here we are. The 44-year-old had lied to obtain the pills well beyond the 10-week limit. She had moved back in with her estranged partner during lockdown restrictions while secretly carrying another man's child. So here we have the essence of the dilemma for this particular person. The heated response to her sentencing this week, I must admit, I was shocked by the strength of feeling, has shown how the issue can arouse strong emotion in the UK. This is a report in the Financial Times, by the way. Even if contentious court proceedings and political rows about abortion are much more rare than in the notoriously fraught environment of the US. The judge in the case, Mr. Justice Pepperell, passed a 28-month sentence after rejecting medical professionals' pleas for leniency and encouraged critics of the law to lobby Parliament. The woman was jailed under the Offences Against the Person Act of 1861, which outlawed abortion alongside issues of its time, such as casting stone upon railway carriages and assaulting keelmen. The woman was jailed under the Offences Against the Persons Act. The more familiar Abortion Act of 1967 permitted the procedure in certain circumstances, but left the 19th century criminal prohibition in place. Abortions in England, Wales and Scotland can generally be carried out before the 24th week of pregnancy, subject to agreement from 2 doctors. Later terminations are permissible only when the pregnancy threatens grave permanent injury or the death of the mother, or if the baby would be born with serious disability. Despite the law, critics have questioned whether it was in the public interest to prosecute the woman, or indeed send her to jail. What do you think? Let's have a word with Miriam, who joins us from Israel. Hello, Miriam.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your take on this?
Well, I don't know if going to jail was, really the right thing, but on the other hand, it was the wrong thing that she did. She could have had the baby and given her up for adoption.
Oh.
My daughter-in-law had a story like that. She was, her birth mother conceived her accidentally, we don't know how, but she chose to give her up for adoption and give her life.
Yes.
And, now she has a wonderful husband. They're actually they're celebrating today their 2nd anniversary.
Yeah.
And, a really loving adoptive parent.
Do you
the fact that she was given the chance to live, is already something.
Do you think that she should have been sent to prison for a law that dates back to 1861?
It's a hard question, because the truth is in Israel it's also illegal. But then on the other hand, we have organizations that help people that, that want to do these things, so they help them, get through it or, have the baby and things like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. It's very hard to know.
What do you think about this, what's called telemedicine, where you can get abortion pills, effectively, online? I've never heard of it either.
I've never heard of it.
This is basically, you don't have to meet in person, you don't have to have a diagnosis while the doctor is in the same room as you. If you can make your point to him and her, and she lied about certain things apparently, you can get abortion pills, which I find that amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
No. All right, nice to speak to you, Miriam.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Can I just mention one other quick thing?
Yeah, sure.
You remember, a long time ago, we spoke about, vacation, and I told you how much I wanted to see my dad?
I don't,
A long time ago, during Corona time. Anyways, I never got to see him. He passed away suddenly 3 months ago.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, Miriam.
Father's Day as well, but it's still very painful.
I know. I'm waiting to hear my messages from my children. I'm sure they're coming soon. Thank you very much, Miriam. Nice to speak to you. I'm sorry about that.
Dear.
This is a bit gruesome, but if you were violent towards a woman who was pregnant, would you be charged with a double murder, says Chris in High Wycombe. I think you would. Elaine here. My granddaughter was born at 24 weeks and survived. What? 1 pound 2 ounces? Goodness me. It's got to be nearly a record. She's now 2 and doing well. We're so lucky to have her here with us. It took my daughter years to fall pregnant, then ended up paying for IVF. What that lady did was wrong, says Elaine. Do you think so? Texter here saying, whilst the woman who terminated her pregnancy was sent to prison, many murderers and rapists walk free. Why? I don't know. If you're a murderer or a rapist, you shouldn't walk free, should you? Hello, Nick. Hello, Andrew. I feel desperately for the poor woman who felt she had to terminate her pregnancy. I can't help feeling that services should be more available and well advertised, so that woman in similar circumstances can gain access to fostering and adoption.
I'm going to take this
says Andrew
into Calais.
Sorry, can't talk now. Sleeping family in close proximity. This is what we need, a sort of one of those warning signs that you just press a button and say, warning, warning. Spouse in proximity sleeping, or something like that. Can't call in. I get a lot of those doing this particular programme. Ian says, Christian, there is no need these days for women to get pregnant unless they want to, apart from rape. There are many contraceptives to choose from. What she did was illegal, which is the point. Yes, and when I listen to Stella Creasy saying, look, she spends all of her time trying to explain, patiently, to middle-aged men on Twitter what this is all about, I would probably find myself in that category, not really understanding and thinking, well, hold on a minute, she had chances to do this and she had chances to do that, all the rest of it. But having never been through pregnancy, having seen it firsthand, but having never been pregnant, I don't really feel that qualified to answer this. What do you think? Morning, Ian. Has the father or the father of the child said anything about this, says Jane in Nottingham? Well, if they have, it hasn't been publicised. Here's another texter saying, I'm female. I do feel that this baby was murdered. I'm pro-choice, but even so, feel that the legal limit is actually too late as it is, 24 weeks, unless for medical reasons. I think there is an agenda to dehumanise us. The medical profession will start to harvest babies for medical reasons. As the son of a gynaecologist and obstetrician, I don't really think that's true, do you? 0345 6060 973. We're talking about this protest march that was caused by the jailing for 2 years of a 44-year-old woman who got abortion pills through telemedicine, which is basically where you have a Zoom call with a doctor rather than face-to-face. She lied about it. She has 3 children already. One has special educational needs.
Yeah.
She was carrying the baby of another potential father rather than her estranged partner who had just moved back in with her, and she lied to get these pills. If I was asked for my opinion, I'd say you can't do this, what she did. But, like I say, the strength of feeling really surprised me yesterday. Do you feel the same? 0345 6060 973 is the number to ring. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC, or you can ask your smart speaker, Alexa, please send a message to LBC.
Here we go.
It's 6:45.
So,
let's get the news.
In comes my
6:45.
drive.
That's it.
Coming up at 7, Andrew Castle leading Britain's conversation. Next on LBC.
Cancer doesn't care if you're deaf, but Nikki from Macmillan Cancer Support does. Knowing that most deaf patients were struggling to understand healthcare professionals, she made it her mission to change that at the Macmillan Deaf Cancer Support Project. So now patients in Nottingham and beyond can get the information they need in a language they understand. Macmillan Cancer Support. Wherever you are, we do whatever it takes to help people living with cancer.
Did you know Vodafone launched the UK's fastest Wi-Fi technology throughout the home?
Really?
Yep.
So what does that mean?
That means you can game, stream and surf at speed in every room.
Bedroom?
Yep.
Bathroom?
Yep.
Attic room?
Yep.
This is going to be fun.
Where do you live?
Wow, that's a lot of rooms.
Yeah. Switch to Vodafone Pro 2 broadband, the UK's fastest Wi-Fi technology throughout the home.
UK broadband providers offering comparable plans based on UK average 2-floor home. Check availability in your area. Verify at vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
Albert Einstein here. Chico and I are out for walkies in the park. My watch tells me we've walked exactly 3,004 steps. Our personal best. Our steps are the only thing we track. Our smart meter display at home tells us how much energy we use daily, weekly and monthly, which can help me make changes to save energy. And now my watch tells me it's time to head back for a couple. Right, Chico?
For extra help managing your household budgets, search Get a Smart Meter today. Consumer action required. Eligibility may vary.
The Elizabeth line is fully open. Now delivering more frequent service with Central London trains now running every 2.5 minutes at peak times. It's connecting more people and places than ever before, making it easier for you to access everything the city has to offer. The fully open Elizabeth line, bringing more of London together. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters. Monday to Saturday, trains run at least every 2.5 minutes between Paddington and Whitechapel at peak times. Services also run on Sundays.
I just sold the car, and it only took me 30 seconds to get a quote from We Buy Any Car.
You know what that means? We're getting a bigger car.
Just sold my car to We Buy Any Car. Just sold my car to We Buy Any Car.
No. Why are they?
To find out how much your car's worth in 30 seconds, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Such a bad mashup.
Admin fee may apply. For more information, visit WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
With BT, staying in has never been so good. Now you can get BT broadband, even at ultra-reliable full fibre, from only $26.99 a month with no upfront costs. Plus, a £20 money-back speed guarantee and Norton security. Don't wait. Offer ends 29th of June. Switch to BT today and win at staying in. New customers, CPI plus 2.9% increase each month. 24-month contract, 29.3% UK coverage terms apply.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Ian Payne.
We are talking about abortion. We're talking about the case this week of a 44-year-old woman who has been sent to jail for over 2 years for carrying out a self-termination by getting pills on a telemedicine call, so not having a face-to-face discussion with her medical professional or her GP, but she actually lied to get these pills because she was in a fairly tangled situation when it came to her partner and her ex-partner carrying one man's child, moving back in with her estranged partner who was someone else, 3 kids already. It's fairly tragic, and I'm pleased that the majority of our calls, in fact all our calls, have been female on this. Sorry Ian, I'm a bloke texting it. You don't have to apologise, Chris, for being a bloke. You're allowed to have an opinion, honestly. It's just phone call-wise, I'd rather have spoken to him about it. One thing you haven't mentioned is this lady not only has now a criminal record by breaking the law, she's also given herself a life sentence, and she will forever be haunted by what she's done. I know several women who had an abortion decades ago and they never got over it. Absolutely right. Elaine is a new caller in Beckenham. Delighted you've rung. Why have you? Good morning.
Hello, thank you. I'm nervous.
No,
at the same time.
Really?
Well, my daughter tried for 5 years for a baby, and she had a lot of problems with utility problems, and she got pregnant with IVF, and the baby was born at 24 weeks, weighing 1 pound 2 ounces.
Oh my goodness!
And she survived. She's amazing. She's 2 now. So
£1 and 2 ounces.
Yeah.
How big was she?
How long?
Was she like the size of a man's hand or something?
Tiny. When she was a couple of months old, her dad put his wedding ring on her arm. That's how tiny she was. She was minute.
Oh my goodness!
And to be honest, because of COVID, I didn't meet her, my first grandchild, until she was 7 months old.
Oh, they're amazing. The NHS and the way.
Yeah, I mean they did wonders. They saved her, basically.
So what does that experience make you feel about this story?
Well, yeah, it's not good. No.
Do you think she should have been sent to jail?
I don't think she should have been sent to jail, really, because I mean she's got other children, hasn't she? But I don't know. It's a funny one.
If she'd committed a crime,
yes.
The fact that she had children at home wouldn't make any mitigating circumstances. She'd still be sent to prison if she'd done a different crime. got to have a deterrent. You've got to stop people doing these sort of things, haven't
Yeah, definitely. I think it was murder. Sorry, but it's a child, you know.
Well, I mean, legally you're right. You know, there's no debate. Legally you're right. It is infanticide.
Yeah, my daughter was given her right arm to carry Daisy that long.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she couldn't, you know.
Has your daughter had any other kids?
No.
Whoa. Is that it, you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's...
That could have been bad.
She's had IVF, so it's quite expensive as well. But we just can't have blessings. We're just so lucky to have Daisy. She's wonderful.
Great. Oh well, you give her a lot of love, Elaine, and thank you for
she's
calling.
very spoiled.
How are you feeling now? Less nervous?
Yes.
Good girl.
Thank you.
Go and have a nice
I should do
day.
it again.
All right,
I'm
please
very
do.
passionate about this. You know.
Yes, no, I didn't realise the strength of feeling, certainly among women, about this, because I would have thought it's an open and shut case. What she did was wrong. She lied. She terminated a baby almost as it was ready to be born, and she should be in jail. But I understand some of the arguments against it, though.
Yes, me too.
All right, Elaine, lovely. Speak again. Thank you very much indeed. Kathy's in Cambridge. Hello, Kathy.
Hello. Good morning.
What do you think about this?
Personally, I'm against abortion.
Totally.
Sorry?
Totally.
Well, no. I mean, there are cases, rape or some sort of medical situation, then that, obviously, I understand. I'm against abortion, although it sounds contradictory. I agree that women should have the right to choose with their own bodies what they do. However, saying that my second son, was 8 months, 1 week. He was 3.5 kilos. Perfect baby. I mean, 3.5 kilos. He was bigger than most babies in the world, you know. So we are talking about a baby, just that, I mean, almost not normal, but a baby that is a baby, and it looks like a baby, and it has a heart. It has
No, I don't think anyone is debating that a child at 8 months is almost perfectly formed, give or take.
Yeah.
But should she be sent to prison for that?
No, definitely. I disagree with that. She had other circumstances, 3 other children. I think I heard you say it wasn't. She moved back in with a partner. The baby wasn't her partner's baby. So, and then she got the medication through the post. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yes.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life. How can you not assess people? So there's a system here that is failing. Women is failing totally. You cannot send tablets of that degree to somebody through post, because how can that be? That's
I don't know.
in itself is a proof. That
Well,
to
if
me
we
is
learn
criminal.
anything from this, Kathy, I hope we learn that we shouldn't have this, abortion by post rule. I know why it's happened. It's happened because of lockdown, but I don't think it should continue. Do you? If we've learnt one thing, let's go to Mandy, who's in Milton Keynes. Good morning. What's your take? Have you got a radio on in the background, Mandy?
No, I had to speak on.
Oh, right, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a friend who, when I was in my 20s, who terminated around 8 months.
Whoa.
And I saw on the scan, I went to the scan and I saw the baby was inconvenient because the father, because of the relationship. My friendship with my girlfriend, it broke up. I couldn't be friends with her anymore because I disagreed with her. Not because I'm anti-abortion. I've had an abortion. I'm not anti-abortion, but I did see the baby, and it was fully scanned, and the baby was inconvenient because the father, not the same situation as that lady, but it was convenient up to 8 months when she was with the other partner, but when she went back to her original partner, then the baby was inconvenient. A baby's not something that you can just flush down the toilet.
Okay.
That I do believe that she should have had a custodial sentence.
You do?
Because that's making a clear message. You can't go just because it's, just because it is your body, but when that that baby is full. That's a human being. It's fully formed. You know, it can live outside the womb, and you have to go through a labour to get rid of that baby. It's not like a normal termination. You have to give birth to that baby, which my ex-friend did, and I wouldn't go to the hospital. I said, I can't.
Okay.
I couldn't even get my head around it. You know, that I couldn't justify it and be friends with her anymore because it was because of a man, because it was inconvenient.
Yeah.
A baby can't be just because a man, because it wouldn't fit in with the family dynamic.
There we go.
But, you know, that she knew about pregnancy. She, you know, she was
like you,
I starting point for tomorrow,
and I did think that. And then when I heard about all these women who were protesting on this,
a lovely night. Yep.